All right, cool. Garzi, thank you for being here.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
It's always my pleasure. And just to get things started, I'm a big fan of your work, and I want to know more about kind of your background of how you first got into the scene, growing up, going to shows, who were your biggest influences, that sort of thing.
Yeah, man. I've been making music since 2017. I want to say was when I released my first single on SoundCloud.
Hmm.
Um, that at the time that was the only thing I had. I didn't have a Spotify or an Apple. It was just SoundCloud. And I put a single out with my friend. Just to, we were just kind of, we were taking it serious. Like it was something we wanted to do, but it wasn't like I don't know. I kind of wasn't expecting anything of it or much from it. I was hyped when it got like 1,000 plays after like 2 or 3 days. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, it started. I was like 20 years old, I want to say, and I had just moved back to Miami, Florida, where I was born and raised. From school, I was in university for like a year and a half, and I absolutely hated it. It wasn't for me. I just wasn't getting the hang of it, and I just wanted to go home and just kind of figure my life out. And so I ended up finishing off the spring semester, and I left the beginning of summer, went back home, and I ended up linking up one of my old time like homies from school type shit, and he was like, I used to sing in chorus and musical theater and all that, so he knew I used to like to sing, and he started producing, and he was just kind of like, yo, like we should just mess around and see what happens, and I was like, I'm down. And then yeah, we ended up making a couple songs with each other, for fun and posting them online, and one thing led to another, and yeah, before I knew it, I was doing it for real, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. And I think it goes without saying, I mean, your music has been described as a blend of hip hop, punk, emo sensibilities, but I'd like to hear in your words what drives this fusion because I think there are no genres. Of course, this has been the case for some time, but I'd love to hear just what your take is on that.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely no genre nowadays. I think everything just kind of blends and meshes with each other, which is really sick. And I was always like I was always into like emo, just like rock. I think nowadays I've been exploring my musical taste a lot more nowadays and kind of just diving deeper into everything, which is not something I used to like doing when I was young. I just kind of liked whatever I found and was easy to find. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so now looking back, I'm kind of like, oh, it's probably like the bands that I liked or bands everyone like made fun of, like the real cool hardcore kids or like like emo kids are like, oh, like this is the poser shit. But I was into like Fall Out Boy and Paramore and fucking like a bunch of Warped Tour bands like Silverstein and fucking who else, man? It goes on and on. And so that was always a really big influence for me. And then sometime in high school, I want to say like senior year, I kind of started getting into rap a little bit. I never
Hmm.
really liked rap that much before. It was kind of like my brother's thing, and whatever my brother liked, I didn't like that much. And so he was always into that, and so I kind of stayed away from it. But at some point, I just kind of, it just started becoming more and more popular. I was growing up, and just kind of like all my homies were into that, and so I wanted to belong a little bit, I think. And so I kind of just started getting into that, and then I ended up really enjoying it and finding, that was around the time like artists like Trippie Redd and Lil Peep and all those kind of guys were doing their thing, and I was realizing that now, oh, like they're kind of doing this with a little bit of rock influence, and like I know about that, like I'm into that, so I can do that too, and so initially like the music was kind of like on the emo rap side of things, and I think that was just kind of like the beginning, and just kind of I felt like that was a way to get my foot into the door,
Yeah.
and then get to where I want to be to start doing what I want to do for real. So it's definitely been a little bit of a journey, but yeah, I'm definitely influenced by a lot of things. I think more days I'd go against like the 808s and all that. Like I don't use that as much nowadays. But there's definitely still, parts in the song where we're flowing a little bit or, rapping, especially on some of these new ones. We've got a couple parts like that where it's really flowy, and I feel like I always kind of just bring a little bit of that to the song just naturally. It's just kind of like what I do by instinct. But yeah, man, I'm definitely just influenced by a lot of different things, and whatever comes out, I don't overthink it either. It's not like I'm in the studio like, oh, like let's blend these two things and let's make this like that. Just kind of like whatever I hear, whatever I feel is just kind of what comes out. So
Fair enough. So let's delve into your discography then. I want to start with your single Mess featuring Kellin Quinn. It's something that's interesting to me because it embraces the concept of accepting one's own personal mess. So, what was the inspiration behind this track, and how has embracing your own mess shaped your music and personal life?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at the time my life was kind of in a weird place. I feel like we've just kind of gone back to a good place in my career. It was weird. Obviously, COVID was happening in 2020, and so that kind of took me out of a lot of things. And I lived in Miami at the time, so it wasn't like I was. There wasn't really a scene for like emo or rock or any of that kind of sound down there. So it was weird. And I was independent again. I had left big at the time. I was signed to Big Noise in 2020, and then we put out the EP with "Sick of Me" and all those songs. And then I left, and I was independent. And so during I think the summer of 2020, I moved to LA, and it was a lot of figuring out to do. My life, and I just moved. I didn't have any managers. I fired my managers. So I really just kind of hit the reset button, and it just kind of felt like everything was in shambles and close to just kind of blowing up. And then slowly but surely we ended up, I found a new manager, we got a new deal, we started recording again, and things just kind of started looking up and getting better and better. But mainly just because I never, I didn't let it get to me to the point where it's like, all right, I quit, or I'm going home, or like, you just kind of got to ride it out. If you really love it, you're just going to do it anyway. And so I just kind of rid it out, and we finally got to the place where it was good. And Mess was one of the first songs I think we made for that EP, if not the first song. It might have been the first song we made for that EP, Careful What You Wish For.
Mm.
And that was, I think we started recording that in 2021 or the beginning of 2022, I'd say. Um, yeah, I probably recorded that song like a month or two before it came out. And yeah, I just felt like that was an appropriate topic and just kind of something I related to at the time. And, since it was easier to look back in retrospect and see my life like that now that it was getting better, and so I was able to just kind of put that out. And, shout out Kellin for wanting to hop on the song and being so cool. And, he took me out on tour afterwards. So, yeah, he's a super dude, and it was a really cool release. That was something I think made my inner child really happy, and I'm so happy that it did well. So yeah, sick. I love that song. It's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. So let's speak some more to the theme of collaborations because obviously you've also worked with Travis Barker. And I would love to hear what that experience was like for you, because I know a lot of the people that I respect and look up to in the scene, yourself included, have had the opportunity to work with him. But what was that experience like?
Yeah, man, he was cool. He's a really chill and quiet guy. He doesn't really say too much when you're around him. I've only been around him like maybe twice, and both times he was real quiet, really respectful, really cool, really open to try whatever, and really down to collaborate and just make something cool, which is sick. And yeah, it was dope. I remember seeing him record some of the drums for "Sick of Me" live in John Feldmann's studio, and that was like I was like, damn, man, this is crazy. I was sitting there in the back, kind of recording low key. So yeah, he was really cool. It was a fun time and just kind of a surreal experience. I think I was a big fan of Blink growing up, and so yeah, that was a really really cool moment and a full circle moment, I think.
Absolutely. So, speaking to cross genre collaborations, things of this nature, I want to get your take on what your thoughts are on the current state of the scene, what the current state is of these cross collaborative genres and music, and maybe just the music scene as a whole. How have you seen it evolved, and where do you see it currently?
I mean, I think it's an ever changing thing. It always changes every year. It's something different, something new. Sound changes slightly.
Mm-hmm.
What people are into is slightly different. Like I think this has been a very big year for like grungier sounding things. Like Deftones kind of vibe
Mm-hmm.
was definitely like a big time this year, last year. Um, and so I think it's something that's always changing. I think people are always looking to, I think right now people are kind of starting to get sick of the TikTok thing and kind of making songs to fit for TikTok and then promote it. Like I don't knock anyone's hustle. I think that's all sick and cool, and you do you. For me, it doesn't. It's not my thing. I'm not trying to. I think it makes the music cheap in a way. It kind of takes away from the music a little bit, and so I kind of. There's a right way to do things too. Not that you shouldn't use TikTok. I think there's a lot of people on TikTok that promote their music in a really cool way. You know what I mean? A really
Mm-hmm.
fresh way. And so that's what I'm always kind of striving for. And so I think a lot of people are kind of still on that, like, it's just kind of corny right now, I think, in a lot of ways. But there are
Mm-hmm.
definitely, there's two sides of the spectrum, bro. There's definitely a lot of people that are corny and just kind of, doing whatever just to get something to stick and do it. but the people that are real and really doing it and that are really sick are still also out there. So I think those are going to be the people that start to really come to the front lines a little bit more going forward, which is going to be really cool to see. I think authenticity, which is always something that's important in music, but I think that's something that's becoming increasingly important in music. Like I said, not just writing something that you think other people are going to enjoy, writing something that's actually important to yourself and, that you have experience with. So yeah, I think those are the really cool things that are coming forward and are going to start happening and shifting in the scene this year type shit. So
Cool. I appreciate your take on that. And
yeah, man.
speaking to that, there's a couple of genres. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey everyone, it's Akiva here, and before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk about something incredibly important: mental health. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy accessible and affordable for everyone, breaking down the barriers that often make finding the right therapist so daunting. With BetterHelp, it's all online, making it easier to start your therapy journey from the comfort of your own space. On my creative journey as an artist and designer, I faced my fair share of challenges. I've always believed in the transformative power of therapy to provide perspective and tools for dealing with life's hurdles. Signing up is straightforward. Head over to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/Akiva Alpert. When you use this link, not only do you support our show, but you also get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp understands that the therapist-client relationship is crucial. So if you feel the need to change therapists for any reason, you can do so easily and without extra charges. Thank you, BetterHelp, for supporting our community and making mental health care more accessible. Visit BetterHelp, that's better, HELP.com/Akiva Alpert, or click the link in our show description. That have kind of entered the conversation again. I've been having this conversation a lot lately, specifically shoegaze and nu metal. And I would
Yo,
just like to hear your take on these.
yeah, I love shoegaze, bro. Like I love that, bro. I'm a really big fan of like fucking what's the band I've been listening to? Like Title Fight. Obviously, I've been listening to Title Fight a ton, and a bunch of bands like that. Super Heaven.
Yeah.
Just like so many sick bands with such a sick sound. Um, that I really wasn't hip to until recently. Like I've been listening to Title Fight. I've known since probably like high school. I've listened to them since high school, but was never like a massive fan of that sound. And so, like I said, like this year or last year, diving back into my roots and just kind of like going deeper into it, I really kind of discovered a new love for that sound specifically. And yeah, I mean, I think that's cool, and like I think people are attracted to that because it doesn't sound so overproduced. I think a lot of music nowadays is really overproduced and really electronic. People aren't making it with real amps and pedals, and they aren't doing it real anymore. It's all through the computer and programmed. And so I think the people who do those kind of sounds and do it well, it's all real. And they have to really know what they're doing. It's not just like, yeah, I'm going to LA for a couple weeks and getting in the studio with so and so and just like making everything on the computer. It's like, nah, like we're flying to like Philadelphia in the cut and like getting a bunch of amps and all the having the whole band there and we're all like recording and writing together. So I think people like Will Yip is a really big person in that kind of scene, in that world and sound. And he has a big hand in informing those kind of things, and we've been in the process of recording an album. We're actually recording it with him. So yeah, man, I'm stoked going forward, bro. It's gonna be a big year for sure.
Let's speak a little bit more to that. That's interesting, like this take on analog versus digital. I mean, this has been
Yep.
a point of contention for a lot of people. What is your take on that in the most abstract terms? I'm very curious.
I mean, bro, again, whatever works for you. Also, not everyone has access to, necessarily the equipment or someone with the equipment or even the
Hmm.
funds to record. Recording something is so hard. It's so expensive, It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of patience. So again, whatever works for you and however you do it, it's all good, People who are truly talented, I think, and meant to really be doing it they're gonna make the fire in whatever setup in whatever situation. You know what I mean? So I don't think it really matters at the end of the day. It's really about just what you enjoy and what you want to portray. And I think for myself personally, for this album that we're in the middle of making, that was something that was important to me. I would just want it to feel like I wanted to. I've done the whole like hopping from session to session and putting random songs together and making a project so many times. That's how every one of my EPs has been made. And so I think for the album, I wanted it to feel special to me. Like, even if it doesn't, no one needs to know any of that. They don't have to, feel any kind of way about that. I just wanted that experience for myself. I wanted to know what it was like to make a real album, do it, in a slightly more real way. And I think it's been a really cool experience. I mean, I think it's given me a lot more insight on how things are done. It's inspired me I picked up a guitar last year and started learning how to play guitar because of that. It's inspired me to want to, master my craft a little bit more and get more into it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, like, again, whatever works for you, but I think that's just where my head was at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. And I'd like to talk some more about the album. I know you probably can't reveal too much, but is there anything that you could discuss?
Well, we've been making this since we started like pre-production on the album in April of last year, I want to say. We did about a month or a month and a half of that, just gathering, random vocal parts. And our main thing at the time was riffs, just coming up with really sick riffs. And then, like I said, Will Yip was gracious enough to take on the project and, produce it. So we went out in May to record 2 singles for a week, I think, and did that. And that was a great, meet Will and see if we vibed and clicked. And that was a super sick experience. And so then we ended up coming back. We did like another week or so of, just like random riffing, just getting some more parts. And then in November, I flew out for 3 weeks to do the bulk of writing and production. And that went really, really well. And so right now we've got about, I want to say 8 or 9 songs. I think the album's probably going to be like 10 songs. I want it to be a good 10. And the first single should be coming out in March. So stay
Excellent.
tuned soon.
Of course.
Yep.
So, kind of touching on a different subject, we were talking about earlier what it was like, you being influenced by the scene and, of course, being an artist within it at this point. Can you share any moments, maybe during your career, that you felt particularly surreal from that experience of someone enjoying it to being in it? Maybe it was meeting somebody in particular or just having a crazy moment.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think on the first tour that I ever did with 0936 and Fame on Fire, I kind of was just like, damn, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I'm really doing it. And like that was kind of at the time where it was like, we had just kind of started, we had just gotten the deal. We had just put out like Mess, so things were just kind of starting to get better. And then we got the tour, and so I was so hyped. And that was such a struggle, man. That tour was crazy. I was all by myself in a Honda Civic. I'd rented the car and drove. I didn't have like anyone with me, bro. No band, no nothing. I was just doing karaoke basically every night off my phone, and then driving to every fucking city for 6 weeks straight, 7 weeks straight, some shit like that. So that was brutal, but we got through it, and it was a really cool experience. And yeah, I think after that, it was kind of just like, damn, like, like this is what it was like. This is what it is. You make music, you put music out, you tour, and it's lit. It doesn't. I feel like people don't feel like they're really doing it or they're really artists unless they've got like a million monthly listeners or they're rich or like what I mean, like they're really doing it on like a crazy level. But it's like it doesn't take doing it on like the most extreme level to be like in it for real. You know what I mean? So I think at that time was kind of when I realized like, yeah, this is sick. Like I really do this, and I'm grateful.
Let's speak to that. Let's speak to authenticity because this is something that we've discussed a little bit in this conversation. It's something that, of course, resonates with me, and I'm 100% sure yourself as well.
Yeah.
You do see a lot of things out there that are very time and place. They feel like it is just chasing a trend. How do you balance your own authenticity? And maybe you could just speak to your thoughts on authenticity as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone obviously it's so easy to want to go in and be like, oh, like let's make something that obviously everything you make you want everyone to love. You don't want to make something that
Mhm.
people don't like. So it's easy to fall into the hole of just like, all right, this is what's working for people right now. Let's do this. Um, I don't know how other people should approach that, but to me personally, it just doesn't work. Even if I wanted to be like, yeah, like this is, like, let's copy this. It's like that. It never really works out that way for me. And it's harder, honestly, if anything. And so I think I've realized, and people don't necessarily usually like that because you can feel it. You know what I mean? You feel that when you're listening to something. It's like, oh, this isn't right. This doesn't feel like them. And so I think for me personally, it's just been, just like do what comes out naturally. Trust your instincts. Don't think. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, maybe this. I definitely second guess myself a lot. I'm like, oh, like maybe this isn't as cool as I think it is. But that's like the thing right there. Like, no, like maybe it is. People may just fuck with that a lot. You never know, but at least. And I'd also rather fail from my own ideas or my own, like I'd rather do what I think is right and fail than do what someone else thinks is right and fail. You know what I mean? And so I'd rather trust myself at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, it's my music, and I have to remember I'm not making it for other people, even though I want other people to, tap in and enjoy and be able to take something from it. It's not created for other people or to blow up. It's I create it because I feel the need to create it because I want to. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I love hearing your thoughts on that. That was very articulate.
hell yeah, man.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Of
Appreciate that.
course. Let's touch back briefly on your discography. Higher is when I first came across your work, and I was listening to that song all day on repeat when I
Hey,
first heard it.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'd love for you just to speak to Higher, in particular, your motivations behind it, maybe some intricacies that we may not know.
Yeah, man. Fucking shit. That was back in like 2019, I think.
Yep.
I think I had just signed to Capitol Records. I don't remember if I made it before I signed or after I signed. It was all like around the same time. I was out in LA and I started working with what's his name? Fuck, Jimmy Duvall. Sorry. He had like a little place in the hills, and I was doing some sessions with him, like a week long thing where we were just recording a bunch of different shit, and that was one of the songs we had made, and Capitol. Okay, yeah, I think it was before I signed to Capitol. We had set up the sessions. I was up there working with them for like a week, and we had made a batch of songs, and then we signed Capitol, sent it to them, and they liked that song. So like, yeah, like let's put this one out. And so I was like, all right, sick. It honestly wasn't one. It wasn't like my favorite song out of the batches. I didn't really like that song that much at all. I was kind of like, damn, like that's the one they like. But it also sounded a lot different at before, the earlier version sounded a lot different. So once we got it to where it is now, I was like, all right, this is pretty sick. Like I like this. But yeah, that was a weird time. I was like 22 maybe. I'm 26 now for reference. So a while ago. I forgot the rest of the question. What do you want to know? My bad.
I, no, I think that's it. I think if there was any nuances to the song, but I think you answered many of them.
Yeah, dude. I was fucking yeah. We were just like on a bender that week, so that was just kind of the vibe, and we were just like, yeah, man, it was sick. It was a weird time, but that was also like at the beginning. That was like one of the first songs that I made when I started transitioning from like the emo rap shit into like the real rock shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that one's still like a like trappy like rock vibe. But then we released My Temptations after that song, like a month or two after that song, and that one was kind of like the first, like just full band track. Not really like 808. I think we had like 808s in that still, but not like it wasn't like the center of the song. You know what I mean? It was kind of like in the background, not really noticeable. So yeah, that was like kind of the beginning of the transition where things got. It also just got weird at the time because that was the sound that people wanted, and I was like known for, and I was trying to transition into something else, and they were like, nah, like we don't want that, like we want this. I'm just like yeah, that's sick, but like nah, like I'm not into that anymore. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So, what are some potential misconceptions that people may have about you as an artist? Is there anything you can speak to, if any at all?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even bring up like the fact that I'm an artist to people when I meet them, or you know what I mean. If people don't
Yeah.
know, like I don't bring it up or say it or anything. Someone asks, and I'm like, okay. Usually, people think I'm a rapper. Obviously, I got the dreads. I'm light skinned. They're like, oh, like you've got to be a rapper. Like when they say like, what kind of music you make? I'm like, they definitely think I'm gonna say rap, and I'm like, nah, I make rock music. They're like, oh, really? Like that's so cool. Like I would have never guessed. And I'm like, yeah. So maybe that. But besides that, I don't really know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I would like to hear you kind of opine on an experience that you had not too long ago. In the most general of terms, you can get into it however you wish. There was an issue with Craig Owens, and I'm kind of curious about what that experience was like because, he was kind of an OG in the scene, but, I was one of the people watching that from afar who was obviously appalled. And so I
Yep.
would just love to hear it, whatever you wish to speak to. And
Yeah, man. I don't have an issue telling my story,
of course,
but that whole thing was weird as fuck. I'm like, honestly, it doesn't even like it's already in the past for me.
of
But yeah,
course.
we were on tour with Escape the Fate. Shout out Escape the Fate. It was Escape the Fate, Drugs, Point North, Stitched Apart, and then me opening up. We were out for 6 weeks, and everything was going well, bro. It was a good tour. It was good enough. It wasn't like the greatest tour. Though obviously, some shows were a little light, some shows were packed. It was different every night. Um, And yeah, man, we ended up getting to like Texas, which was like halfway, and then his bassist ended up, which was kind of like the homie to everyone on tour. You know, we all loved him. He ended up getting really heated one day, and we were all just kind of like, "What the fuck's going on?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, like, yeah, like I'm out of here, like I'm leaving." And we were all just like, "No, like, why are you gonna leave? Don't leave." He was like, "Yeah, man, you know, I'm." He didn't really want to get into it or tell anybody anything. He was just like, "Yeah, man, like I'll tell you guys when the tour's over. I'm going home. See you later." And I was like, "Okay, like that's crazy." And so we were all bummed that he left, but we knew something had gone down, obviously, and so we were like, "What the heck?" So whatever. That was probably halfway. Fast forward, 2 weeks later, we're in Portland, Oregon. No, we're in Washington, Seattle. We played the show. Show went well. Whatever. We're out for drinks, and it comes to my attention once we're out drinking, whatever, that the issue was actually towards me. And I was like, oh, and not just me, but Mixie as well, the singer of Stitched Apart. And I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's really weird. I didn't think it had anything to do with me. Obviously, I'm just thinking, oh, my friend's upset, something happened to him, And so it comes to my attention that it was about me. They tell me what was said, that, Craig was upset one day that tickets weren't selling the best for a lot of the shows. All the shows were great, and so he was kind of upset and bummed that, like, yo, like, we should be selling more and having a better crowd. And he felt that the issue was because of the lineup, and that I was solely at the tour because I'm black, and I was a diversity hire, and that Mixie was there because she's a girl and brings in the girls, and a female fan base. Um, and that just didn't stand with me, bro. It didn't fly with me. I was upset. I didn't like that. At first I was kind of just like, oh, like that's what a loser, like whatever, fuck that. And then like it kind of just like started gnawing at my conscience. I was just kind of like, what the heck, like that's really weird. The fact that I saw like black kids at his shows, enjoying his music and buying his merch, and I was just like, that's kind of whack. I really didn't like that. And so the last show was the day after in Portland, and I went on stage and ended up, putting him on blast. I just said what was up. I called him out, said what was up, and that was it. And I just left it there. I didn't really want to make it a whole internet thing. I did post on my story not that long ago about the whole thing, simply because I saw, a lot of my friends still following him. I saw a lot of people that I follow still going to show. I saw him still touring and nothing happening, and I think it's whack that this scene is the first to cancel people over things, you know what I mean, and call people out on their bullshit. And the scene loves to make a fuss about shit, but when it came to that, they didn't really want to back that up. I just thought that was kind of funny. But like I said, to me, it wasn't about the internet shit or getting anyone canceled. That's not my goal. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't play that game. Like, that's not what it is to me. I just want to put the information out there. You can do what you want to do with the information. If you still fuck with them, you still fuck with that, that's you. You know what I mean? But at least people are made aware, and people that look like me should not be supporting him. You know what I mean? And at least now they have the information, and they still want to after. That's on them, bro. You know what I mean? Like I said, I have no goals of ruining anybody's lives or doing anything. I just want my story to be known and be told, and that's that.
Absolutely. Well, I speak for myself, certainly, when I say, I mean, the transparency was amazing. I
Hell
think
yeah.
it's so important to air out these things as they occur seriously,
Yep.
and they must be known. So, and it was metal as fuck for you to do that. I
Yeah,
remember
I mean, if you're not
when
going
that
to stand up for
happened.
yourself, no one's going to stand up for you, bro. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're artists, and we're in the position, the whole thing, it's like we're role models, bro. People look up to you, and take the way you act by example. And it's like, if I let people walk on me or say shit about me or treat me some kind of way, and not stand up for myself, what are people that look like me in their life when they are in a similar situation, how are they going to react if they see that? Maybe they're going to back down the same way and not stand up for themselves. And it's like, nah, man, like I want to give people the power to stand up for yourself and do what's right to yourself, you know what I mean, and to others.
Let's speak to that briefly because you're a very important voice in the scene. And
Yup.
so I think it's necessary we continue this topic just a little bit. To preface, I've been going to shows since 2004. And as much as I've seen a lot of camaraderie, a lot of representation, basically a lot of self-expression, I've equally seen as many horrible things, you could say, even directed towards me. For example, my experience was going to shows being Jewish, which had its own set of circumstances. But the point is this: you're such an important voice in the scene. How would you like to see the scene as a whole change or improve, especially as it pertains to representation?
Hey, man, my motto in life is live and let live, bro. That's it, man. I think everyone
Yeah.
should be allowed to enjoy the music they want to enjoy the space they want to enjoy. You know what I mean? Go to the shows they want to, do what they want to do at the shows, within reason. Obviously, don't be an asshole, and you know. Uh,
Of course.
but yeah, bro, just live and let live, man. It's like I feel like people are always just looking, and obviously, if someone's a piece of shit, like we gotta get that person out of there. You know what I mean? I think everyone just needs to be a better fucking person. At the end of the day, stop being fucking whack. There's no need to be fucking whack. And just yeah, I think people are looking for drama. I think people feed on drama and they enjoy the drama. And I just think that takes away from the music and from the good things of what this is all about. And so I just want to see less drama. I want there to be less drama. Obviously, if drama is, deserved, then, if someone did something, it's deserved, whatever. But like, I would love to see less drama and just more love for the music, more enjoyment for the music.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's supposed to unite all of us.
Yup.
Absolutely. It's just our appreciation for the art.
Yup.
Well, fantastic. Let's speak to social media culture then, because so many changes have happened over time in two ways.
Yup.
Technologically being the first, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, now TikTok. I would like to speak to that first part of it, and then we can get to the second. How do
Yup.
you think things have shifted in terms of social media culture as an artist?
Well, so obviously become like, it's what you need in order to promote your music, to
Mm-hmm.
get your music heard, get your music out there. It's, I think it's almost as important as making the music, which is not something that I'm a fan of. I don't think that's cool at all. I think it's kind of whack. I'm like, damn, it's lame. But
Mm-hmm.
it is important. I remember when I was coming up, like on SoundCloud, people are always like, oh, like, what did you do to like, get here? Like, keep doing it. And I'm just like, at the beginning, like I was just following a lot of like what I would see. If there was someone that was kind of similar in sound to me or in style or whatever it may be, and I was like, okay, and like a similar level to my level, I was kind of like, all right, like, what are they doing to progress? And at the time, like you said, everything changes. So this is a couple years. This is like 2017.
Yeah.
A while ago now. But I saw a lot of people putting their music under certain YouTube channels, right? Like the YouTube channels that would post songs all day, right? They would get their songs placed on these YouTube channels. They would do these, get them placed on review YouTube channels where people were reviewing the song, and just a bunch of little different tricks like that I would do. Um, and like, social media was important back then too, but it wasn't what it is now. It wasn't like the primary. I don't think it still wasn't like the primary way people were finding music. Like they were finding music there, but it wasn't like the way. And TikTok wasn't even around. So it's like, bruh, I can't even picture what this would look like now. I can't even remember what it's like without TikTok. TikTok is everything nowadays. And so, yeah, I think over the years that's just become increasingly more important. It's almost like the music is not the important part, which is crazy, because that is the important part. That's the product you're selling. So at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. But it's like I know so many people that make amazing music and just have no presence because of the social media thing. And I think that's just so whack. But it is what it is. You got to learn to play the game for what it is, or at least how you like to play it. Like, I'm not the best, I don't think. I think that's something that also hurts my music. It hurts.
Hey everyone, Akiva here. Today I'm thrilled to introduce you to a revolutionary tool that's changing the game for artists and designers everywhere, the Muse 2 headband. So what exactly is Muse 2? It's a cutting-edge headband equipped with advanced EEG technology designed to monitor your brain's activity. This isn't science fiction, it's a real tangible tool that tracks how well you focus, sleep, and recharge. By providing real-time feedback on your brain's activity, Muse 2 guides you through meditation sessions, helping you understand and improve your mental state. It's like having a personal trainer, but for your brain, ensuring you're always in the optimal state for creativity and productivity. Imagine reducing your stress, feeling more calm and relaxed, and enjoying a boost in focus and clarity. Muse 2's EEG sleep support technology has been shown to improve sleep quality. That means waking up refreshed, recharged, and ready to conquer the creative challenges of the day. It's backed by the best, renowned institutions like Harvard, NASA, and the Mayo Clinic, not to mention over 200 published research studies. And because I believe in the transformative power of Muse 2, I've partnered with them to offer you an exclusive 15% discount. Just use my code at choosemuse.com/Akiva Alpert and start your journey towards enhanced focus, creativity, and well-being today.
Me, it's like I'm not the most active person on social media. I'm not out there doing the corny TikToks. I just won't do it. You know what I mean? I'm not against TikTok. Like I said, there's cool ways to do it. It's just not my thing. At least not right now. And Instagram, like I post, but I only post when I feel like I have something to say. I'm not like obsessed. I feel like a lot of people are also just obsessed with like the feeling they get of posting a picture and getting their likes, and people call, it's like I'm not in, it's not, that doesn't fuel me, bro. Like I try to avoid people at all costs and avoid
Yeah.
attention at all costs. Like I don't like the attention, you know. We just did a headline show, my first headline show in LA on Saturday, over at Permanent Records, and we sold it out, and I was so hyped. But the whole day, man, I was just so sick to my stomach because I thought like 10 people would show up. And then when I found out that, you know, we had basically sold out, I got even more nervous. Now I'm like, oh fuck, like there's actually people. Now there's even more pressure, you know? So I try to avoid that at all costs, but it is what it is, you know, it is important, and you do have to, you have to do what you don't want to do sometimes in order to make things work. So
Fantastic.
hell yeah,
So
man.
this so the second part of that, in dealing with, kind of to your point, the attention, social media, what comes next in your opinion in terms of futurism, in terms of AI, and the way that that's going to either enhance or perhaps take on a whole new role, maybe in your life, or maybe just your general thoughts?
Honestly, I have no idea, bro. Like that's like the whole AI thing is crazy to me. I think
Yeah.
it'd be cool to get new music from artists that have passed, you know, or even
Yeah.
finished albums that aren't, you know, maybe aren't finished. It'd be cool to hear them get finished with an AI voice, or just like I don't know. I don't know how we would use it for myself personally. I don't know. I'm just gonna end up getting replaced. They're gonna be like, "Yo, fuck, we don't need Garzi for real. We'll just fucking use his fake voice," you know. So I don't really know, but I think it's a cool tool. I think we'll find ways of putting it to use in the future for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
It is crazy. No, it is very crazy. And I don't think anyone could predict it. That's why it's
Yep,
so interesting.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it could go in so many different ways. I can't even That's what I'm saying. I can't even comprehend at the moment. It's like I just have to wait and see what happens and what comes of it. But already, it's like just seeing people make, you know, like the Ghost Rider dude who did like the Drake and the Weekend
Yeah.
song. Like that was crazy. You know what I mean? Like that's sick. And I think we'll see a lot of that in the future. And they've already started like trying to regulate it and, you know, put rules on it. And, you know, I think it's one of those things that kind of just like now they've got to have lawyers go in and kind of build this area of music law and everything, you know, that didn't exist because we didn't have that technology before. So yeah, I think that we're still in the very early stages, and we'll just have to wait and see where it goes.
Fair enough. Well, on the tail end of this conversation, I would like to discuss fashion. But since we're talking about AI, I'd like to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro. Have you seen anybody walking around wearing it? What do you think
I,
about that as a whole?
I haven't seen them in person yet. I have an Oculus. I got that like last year, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I used it for like a week, and I was like, all right, I'm like kind of over it, you know. So that kind of like didn't put a bad taste in my mouth for VR headsets, but it just was like, all right, they're not really my thing. But I actually watched like an hour long video like review on the Apple ones. I was like, oh, that's so sick because like the Oculus, you can't walk around in public and see everything, right? Like the Apple
Sure.
ones are more like augmented reality, you know, like you see what's in front of you, but you can add the little screens, whatever, you know. Whereas the Oculus is like you're in like a virtual room or something, and then you can
Hmm.
have like your little screens and shit. Um, I think they're really sick. I don't know, maybe I'll buy a pair just to fuck around to see what's up. I think they're cool. I would love to see something a little bit more like practical. I'm not gonna be the fool walking around with a big headset on in public. But you know, if I had like contacts or like some cool shades or something like that, would be sick for sure. But yeah, man, technology's crazy, bro. Technology's sick.
Hell yeah. So let's speak to fashion as a whole. What are your thoughts on that? What are you feeling right now? And how big of a role does that play in your life?
I'm not really. I went through like when I was younger, like I was into like like I need designer and like need to be like dripped up and like fresh. I think the importance of um like all that is fading. I don't think it's as important anymore, at least not like in designer. I think fashion's still very much a heavy thing and people are very into it. I think is just shifted from being like okay like designered out to like actual fashion, finding things, making everyday clothes work for you and look sick, you know what I mean? Like now people love like baggy shit, you know. I
Yeah.
was into like skinny pants forever. I loved skinny pants. I still love skinny pants, you know. But I used to hate baggy shit. I would never wear any baggy shit. But now I'm like super into like baggy pants and baggy shirts and just like being comfortable. And again, it's about expressing yourself and being your own person and your own personalization. So I think whatever works for you is what works, you know, and just it's all about confidence. You know, if you rock something and you're like, oh, like I don't look good, that's what it's going to come off as, you know. But if you rock something wild and it's like, yeah, I look sick, then, you know, everyone thinks you look sick. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, I think it's about just finding, you know, actually being passionate about it and actually knowing what you like and not just like going for what you think people are gonna think looks good or something. You know, it's like, okay, I actually like that. Like, I'm actually gonna wear this and I'm comfortable in it and it looks good and like that swag. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's cool, and I think that's a lot of like what I do now. You know, like I wear a lot of just like really neutral, plain shit. I just love plain black tees, white tees, gray tees, and a pair of baggy pants. Like, that's my favorite fit. You know what I mean? Like a thermal under a baggy black shirt with a baggy pants. Like, that's sick to me. You know what I mean? Um, I don't like to. I'm not like a. I need to be like all colorful and like stand out hard as fuck. But like everyone's different, and I think, like I said, whatever fits for you works for you, and that's cool. You know, that is fashion.
Wonderful, wonderful. Agreed.
Hell yeah,
So,
man.
Garzi, lastly, the best part of the conversation, what can your fans look forward to, myself included, in terms of new music, tours, projects? What can you discuss, just opine on? I'd love to hear you talk about it.
Yes, sir. So, like I said earlier, we've got the album on the way. That's just about done. So, you can hopefully expect the album this year. I don't want to misspeak, but we're shooting for a release this year. New singles should be out next month in March. We're in February currently. So, March, we should have a new single. And then April, we're doing a co-headline with Groupthink. We're doing a 6-show co-headline. We're hitting Sacramento, LA again, San Diego. We're hitting Chicago, Atlanta, and then New York. So that's what I've got set up for the year so far. And yeah, man, it's been a dope conversation. I appreciate you for having me on, man.
Well, it's been my absolute pleasure. It goes without saying you're one of my favorite artists. I think I speak for a lot of people, and
Thank you,
it's just
bro.
been amazing. Of
Hell yeah, man.
course. Of
Thank you, brother.
course.
Appreciate it. Well, shout out everybody, man. Shout out my guy. Appreciate y'all.